Good day, ma'am. I am Faida Asarakil from BS Ed English 1B. For today's video, I should going to discuss the outstanding contributions of Aristotle, Robert Lowth, William Jones, and Ferdinand de Saussure. To begin with Aristotle, for him, the study of language has always had two kinds of practitioners, the practical and the theoretical linguist. Aristotle was no doubt the first theoretical linguist, in addition to being the first in many other subjects. But he also contributed essentially to the development of practical linguists. On the other hand, Robert Lowth contributed an example modern linguists hold up of how to entirely misunderstand dialectal variation and historical change in language. Lowth just made up rules of English grammar that never existed historically and are still not followed in informal speech today. For example, that two negatives make one positive. Then we have Sir William Jones. He was particularly known for his proposition of the existence of a relationship among Indo-European languages. His contributions to linguistics and inspiring Western interest in the study of India remain significant advances in our understanding of our our common heritage as the family in humankind. Lastly, we have Ferdinand de Saussure. Saussure was one of the founders of structuralism. According to him, linguistic entities are parts of a system and relations to one another within said systems. Saussure introduced structuralism in linguistics, marking a revolutionary break in the study of language, which had till then been historical and philological. So, next, I should going to define the historical development of language. In the process of language acquisition, the caregiver is the stimulus given to the child, who babbles and coos as response. Thus, reinforcement occurs and the child is patted or cursed when he speaks, then he forms language producing habits. It supports the ability of your child to communicate and express the understanding's feelings. It is also supports your child's thinking ability and helps them to develop and maintain relationships. Development lays the foundations for the reading and writing skills in children as they enter the progress through school. So, next, I should going to describe or explain to you the following. The first one is the Romance languages. So, the Romance languages, less commonly referred to as Latin languages or Neo-Latin languages, are the various modern languages that evolved from Vulgar Latino between the 3rd and 8th centuries. They are a subgroup of Italic languages in the Indo-European languages or European family rather. Second, we have Germanic languages. Germanic languages is a branch of Indo-European language family. Scholars often divide the Germanic languages into three groups, which are the West Germanic, North Germanic, and the East Germanic. The third, we have Indo-European languages. The Indo-European languages are a language family native to the overwhelming majority of Europe, the Iranian plateau, and the northern Indian subcontinent. Next, we have Sino-Tibetan, also known as Trans-Himalayan in a few sources. It is a family of more than 400 languages, second only to Indo-European in number of native speakers. The vast majority of these are the 1.3 billion native speakers of Chinese languages. So, next, I should going to explain the Grimm's law and the Great Vowel Shift. So, the Grimm's law defines the relationship between certain stop consonants in Germanic languages and their originals in Indo-European. These consonants underwent shifts that change the way they are pronounced. On the other hand, the Great Vowel Shift was a series of changes in the pronunciation of the English language that took place primarily between 1400 and 1700, beginning in the southern England and today having influenced effectively all dialects of English. So, next, I should going to discuss the history of English languages. So, the first one is the Old English language, or also called Anglo-Saxon. Languages spoken and written in England before 1100. It is the ancestors of Middle English and Modern English. Scholars place Old English in the Anglo-Frisian group of West Germanic languages. The second one is Middle English or Middle English language. The vernacular is spoken and written in England from about 1100 to about 1500. The descendant of the Old English language and the ancestor of Modern English. Modern English is a form of the English language spoken since the Great Vowel Shift in England, which began in the late 14th century and was completed in the roughly 1550. Then we have Early Modern English or Early New English, sometimes abbreviated MOD or MNI or MN, is the stage of the English language from the beginning of the Tudor period to the English interregnum, from the transition from Middle English in the late 15th century to the transition to the Modern English in the mid to late 17th century. Lastly, we have the late Modern English in the history of English, for which unprecedented wealth of textual materials exist. Using increasingly sophisticated databases, the contributions in this volume explores grammatical usage from the period, specifically morphological and syntactical change in a broad context. That's all. Thank you.